As we know in our world today, gorillas are one of the most physically imposing and strongest animals in the world, and have a roughly similar build to humans. They do share 98% of the same DNA as us after all. But one of the things some humans love doing is working out, achieving peak fitness, and achieving your perfect body, looking lean but full of muscle, and looking very aesthetically pleasing to the eye. A way we judge someone off their body for their definition of muscle, size of limbs, and how well each body part compares to each other one, and of course, if you look like you can lift a car over your head, we call that bodybuilding. Something a lot of people love doing. And we know gorillas are 400-pound hunks of muscle, so how well would they do in a competition? Well, today, that's what we're going to find out. Alright, so before we find out how good a gorilla would be at a bodybuilding competition, we gotta understand how bodybuilding competitions are judged, and what makes a good bodybuilder good. So first off, there's a few different ways you can judge a competition, but for today, I'm going to be doing how judges judge an IFBB Pro competition, as these are the most elite bodybuilders in the world. So, for an IFBB Pro competition, there are 2 rounds, but each round kind of branches off into little bits smaller rounds. The first round is the pre-judging round, where the bodybuilders stand up straight, not flexing any muscle, and moving in quarter turns to see each body part. Not flexing any muscle, showing all the judges their imperfections. And the judges in this round can see any of the flaws on their body, because when you flex, it's kind of hard to see the fat on you. So, not only are they seeing if you have fat on your body, they're also seeing to make sure if each individual body part is symmetrical. So round 1 is basically the chill and relaxed round. But the next round is the mandatory poses. In this round, we see the muscles on display in a variety of poses, like the front lat spread, side chest, front double biceps, etc. And here you'll be judged on how big your muscles are in general, and how much muscle mass you have and how they compare to the competition. After this, the judges will look at how well defined your muscles are and how lean and detailed each muscle is on your body. They're basically looking for a good definition of muscle to have for a bodybuilder. And here, they're able to see each individual muscle on someone's body. Then they can look at how big and defined the muscles are. And they're also making sure that everything is not out of order. So your arms aren't too big for your chest, your calves aren't too big for your thighs, etc. And they're also making sure that each individual muscle is balanced. So each arm is the same size and the same well definition, and each leg is the same size and same definition of muscle on each side. Now, that is it for the mandatory round. Now it's time for the final round, the presentation round, where you get center stage all by yourself and you're allowed to do whatever pose you seem fit. And which pose gives you the best look, that makes you look the best and hides your flaws. Basically showing how much aura you got on stage. I'm not even joking, it's really showing how confident you are and how big your muscles are at the same time. Basically aura. So now that we know how competitions are judged, we need to find out the average body fat of a bodybuilder. So for IFBB Pro bodybuilders, which are the elite ones, they average a body fat percentage in the off season of 10 to 15%, while the average on stage bodybuilder for an IFBB Pro is 7 to 9%. But this could get as low as 4%. So now with that, let's look at the data for the gorilla. So from the gorilla strength video I did, there was, I believe, 2 different studies on gorillas' body fat percentages. The first study was done in 2000, which was done with 4 low-length gorillas, different ages and genders. Their body fat ranged from 19.4 to 44%, and their muscle averaged 37.3%. So the average body fat percentage of all 4 of them was 32%. But looking at these apes, we just know that's not true. And this is also a small sample size. And one of the gorillas is also obese in this study, so it's not a good indicator of their body fat. Which is good though, because we got another study done in 2011 that is done with 5 low-length gorillas, aging from 27 to 36. All male gorillas, meaning silverbacks. And this study took the muscle percentages from every big muscle they have. Quads, hamstrings, glutes, chest, shoulder, back, all of it. So we get a precise measurement of muscle and fat for our gorilla. Of the 5 gorillas, the leanest reached 8% body fat and had a muscle mass percentage of 46.4%. To the fattest gorilla, which was over 20% body fat and had 34% muscle mass. On average of the 4 gorillas, because only 4 got fully measured, they averaged a body fat of 15.5%. And the average muscle of all 5 of them was 38.38%. So comparing the average body fat of a bodybuilder to our gorilla, it's at a disadvantage. And if you still take the average body fat of a silverback to the average body fat of an off-season bodybuilder, it's still at a disadvantage. However, what if we used our leanest silverback, the one with 8% body fat? Although it's still not competing with an IFBB Pro on its competition stage, it's still got a very good body fat percentage to keep it competitive. But again, these are humans compared to gorillas. Humans train for years and diet for years to look this good. But what if a gorilla did the same thing as a human and dieted like a human? Well, this would be very unlikely, because gorillas are extremely lazy animals. Despite humans having high testosterone for increased strength, silverback gorillas on average have a little bit less testosterone than humans, as their strength comes from evolution rather than high testosterone. So with the improved brains and consciousness, they wouldn't be interested in bodybuilding or care to be the best bodybuilder in the world, because they'd probably more likely just be sitting on a couch watching Sunny in Philadelphia, because that's what they're more interested in doing, than being nude on a stage in front of a bunch of different people. But what if we forced them to be a bodybuilder? What if we forced them to be one so they could be the greatest, best, ultimate champion of the sport? Alright, let's get started. We have our gorilla at its natural self at 8% body fat and around 370 pounds. Prime adult years, peak shape. How do we get this big boy in even better shape? Now here's where it becomes tricky. Because although gorillas have a similar shape to humans, as in they have 2 arms and 2 legs, and they can walk upright on those legs, they tend to, most of the time, walk on all 4s. And they also have longer arms than legs, unlike humans. Humans' strongest part of their body is their legs, but on a gorilla, the strongest part of their body is their arms and shoulders. Very opposite to a human, which arms are one of the weakest parts on a human's body. So their workout's going to be a little bit different than a human. So let's get a plan for our gorilla. It's going to be tough to figure out, but I'm going to take from another bodybuilder here, another IFBB Pro guy, Larry Wheels. I'm choosing him because he's got a funny laugh. So we're with him. Larry Wheels is 6'1" and roughly weighs 270 to 280 pounds. And back in 2025, when he was training for his bodybuilding competition, he had to cut all that weight down to 245 pounds. Where Larry would win and become an IFBB Pro. So, Larry Wheels for his diet consisted of a lot of protein, high carbs, and occasional cheat meals. And his workouts were high intensity, where he trains 5 times a week and trains each body part 4 to 5 times per workout. And doing all this with sleep and supplements to get Larry his best physique so far and won him his competition. Now, how do we translate this for a gorilla? Well, first, we gotta switch up some of the diet. So our gorilla as it stands is 370 pounds, 7 to 8% body fat, and roughly 47% muscle mass. So our 370 pound gorilla needs 9,000 calories to maintain its weight. And from research, it states gorillas need to roughly consume 2,500 more calories than their maintenance to gain a pound per week. A normal human would usually have 500 more calories than their maintenance to gain a pound per week, but a gorilla is different, I guess. I don't know why, but maybe someone can explain in the comments. So we're putting a gorilla on a diet of 11,500 calories per day, getting roughly 1 pound per week. The diet we're using for our gorilla mainly consists of fruits and vegetables. So 80% of the diet will be fruits and vegetables, 15% being grass, sticks, and stems, and 5% being actual meat, mostly termites, snails, caterpillars, and ants, but a little bit of chicken. Yes, chicken is a very lean protein, and it has been documented that a gorilla has eaten cooked chicken in captivity. Only a little bit, though, but I'm still putting it in. So he's roughly consuming 8 pounds of bananas, 35 pounds of celery, 4 pounds of ginger, 45 pounds of berries, half a pound of sticks and stems, 2.5 pounds of snails, ants, and termites, and roughly 3 chicken breasts a day. So that's his diet. His exercise routine, we're using a modified version of Larry Wheels. As we see in Larry Wheels' Monday routine, being chest, I'm keeping the same 4 exercises. On Tuesday, we see the back routine. Larry only has 4 exercises. We're bumping that to 5, considering gorillas have very strong backs. Wednesday is shoulders, which will add 1 more exercise to Larry's 4. On Thursday, Larry has 5 exercises for legs. And right here, I'm taking it down to 4 exercises. Because unlike humans, gorillas' leg muscles are smaller than their upper bodies, and they don't need to be worked out as much as the upper body. And gorillas' smallest muscle on their body is their abductor, which is a part of their gluteus maximus, aka their ass, which is actually the biggest muscle on a human. So I'm going down to 4 for that. And on Friday, it's arms, and we're bumping that to 6 exercises, as the biggest muscle on a gorilla is their arms. So what legs are to humans, arms are to gorillas. So there you have it. That's the diet, and that's the workout routine. Here's a quick look at the full routine for the gorilla during its bulk and cut, and along with this, we're also giving the gorilla creatine monohydrate. No studies on this, but it's likely going to have a similar effect as it does to humans. So we're taking a 9-month bulk, bulking from 370 pounds to about 409 pounds. Let's say this gorilla, as it gains 39 pounds, is about 50% fat, 50% muscle, giving a body fat percentage of 10.9%. Now, time for the cut. Let's say our gorilla cuts back down to 370 pounds, this time cutting to 3.9% body fat, because any lower might be lethal. So, let's check it out. We shaved him down, and we get him on stage. Since this gorilla is huge and is at 3.9% body fat, we will have him compete at the IFBB Pro stage against pro bodybuilders. The first round is the relaxed phase, and our gorilla probably won't do so good. As it's a relaxed phase, it just looks like a big ball of muscle with its gut sticking out. And not the best look from behind, so that's not great, because it's got virtually no butt. But then we get to the mandatory poses stage, and our gorilla gets to show its muscles. The back and arms look peak along with pretty defined abs, but the chest looks muscular but rather small to the arms. And we get to the legs. The gorilla's hamstrings, quads, and glutes are big and full of muscle, but again, a gorilla has a disadvantage when it comes to humans, as their legs may be bigger when compared to humans, but they're not as long and not as appealing as a human's. And along with gorillas having no ass, it does not help their case at all. So that's why the final stage of the competition, the presentation stage, where our gorilla can show its true pro poses. It skips all the leg poses and focuses on the back and arms, showing its full potential. So after 3 rounds, it comes to the judges, and our 370 pound, 3.9% body fat gorilla on an IFBB Pro stage finishes last place. Wait, really? Yeah, it does. So although a gorilla will be bigger and have more muscle than the average human, but when you get to competitive bodybuilding, it's a rough time for the silverback. For starters, it's at a huge disadvantage because the competition's with humans. And yes, it would have more muscle, but it won't matter when its legs aren't symmetrical and appealing as a human. And yes, its arms and back would be really good, but its natural belly sticking out, applied with its stubby legs, and you're not able to see each individual muscle because it's so tightly compacted together compared to a human, which looks a lot better and looks more natural, not literally natural, but more natural looking and more like appealing to the eye, you know? So it's just not a good look for a big boy on the stage. However, I got one more ace up my sleeve. We took from Larry Wheels' game plan of eating and working out. But there's one thing Larry Wheels took that I could give the gorilla. One last boost to give him the edge to win. Okay, so completely unethical, but it's our little hypothetical. But we are injecting steroids into our silverback, and I mean so many steroids. We're injecting 700 milligrams of trenbolone, an anabolic steroid. So let's go back to the start of the bulk, but this time injecting 700 milligrams of tren per week. Our silverback has never looked so strong, so huge, so muscular, and so aesthetic. So let's do our bulk. For our bulk, he will consume the same food, but just more of it. On anabolic steroids, you can consume more protein and more food. So our gorilla was originally consuming 11,500 calories, but now we're upping that to 14,000 calories, making our big boy even bigger. The 9-month bulk, roughly bulking around 72 pounds from 370 to 442 pounds, and roughly having a bit more body fat than previously. Originally, it was at 10.9%, but now let's say it's at 13.7% body fat. And since we're doing a full adult silverback on tren, we're gonna have to have him work out more. So originally we had 5 days a week for working out, but now since he's on a lot of steroids, we're gonna add a second workout to 2 of those 5 days. So the original workout plan is right here, and now here is the new and improved workout for our gorilla. Wha-bam! That's right, a push and pull day, added to Thursday's leg day and Monday's chest workout. So now we have increased the food, the protein, the workouts. We have also increased the vitamins he's taking, because my God, this is going to create a lot of health problems to your heart and kidneys. You know, just minor stuff in the body, right? So that's why we're giving our big guy a variety of vitamins, like zinc, magnesium, DHEA, cholesterol, greens plus reds, collagen, and fish oil. All vitamins daily. And now we get to the cut. Instead of a 3-month cut, we're doing a 5-month cut, cutting all the way back down to 370 pounds. The cut is tough for the steroid pumping gorilla, but he's willing to sacrifice to achieve greatness. The first cut our gorilla did, he went down to 3.9% body fat, but now he's getting all the way down to 2.9% body fat, literally in the 0.000000000 percentile of the entire history of the world's body fat. Our gorilla has a supreme level of body fat. Its muscle mass is through the roof. Its definition is unreal. He can barely walk, but we get him to the stage to present his physique to the world, to show not only every single human in this world, but the entire universe as a whole, what the peak physique in humanity and the animal kingdom looks like. Our gorilla is ready. Now the moment of the truth. We take a look at our gorilla at its peak physique. All right, let's see what we're working with. Oh, I didn't think this through. Well, to shock to me, but giving gorillas anabolic steroids isn't the smartest idea. First off, giving a gorilla trenbolone steroids apparently is fatal, and if a gorilla somehow managed to survive the tren, its body fat getting to as low as 3.5 or even 4% of that would kill it. Welp. I didn't think this would happen. My bad, y'all. I didn't know. Guys, I didn't know this would happen. I'm sorry. I just wanted to try it out. I'm sorry. So in conclusion here, surprisingly, a gorilla wouldn't be a good competitive bodybuilder. Now listen, gorillas are technically bodybuilders. They eat clean diets with lots of protein, have tons of exercises, and build muscle, being big and bulked up. And hell, they're great at it. They're technically, by definition, bodybuilders. But in a sense of competitive bodybuilding, they wouldn't be so great at it. If you took the average silverback gorilla and faced it off against the average adult male, it would do very well. But when you get into the competitive stage with the IFBB pros, even if the ones that are IFBB pros are lower tier, it still won't win. Yes, even if the gorilla is somehow alive and has a similar body fat to those bodybuilders, even with more muscle mass, it wouldn't win. Its legs have a huge disadvantage in of not being as long and as appeasing to the eye as human legs would be. And of course, I mentioned this before, but along with its stomach sticking out, compared to other elite bodybuilders, it would not make the judges look so favorable to the gorilla. Also, this is all hypothetical. It's very, very likely a gorilla would die if its body fat got lower than 6%. So even with me putting a huge asterisk on this topic, it likely won't be a very good competitive bodybuilder. It'd be great at bulking though. Good God, they would be awesome at bulking. They'd be terrible at cutting though. They'd be terrible cutters, let me tell you that. But overall, they weren't built for the big stage. But it is what it is. However, I think a gorilla would be much better at being a powerlifter or a strongman, and I will possibly cover that topic in a different video. But that is the video, everybody. I thought this was a silly little video that got kind of serious, then got really stupid, and then got kind of serious again, and I wanted to figure it out, because gorillas are a crazy cool animal, and I love their anatomy so much. They're raging, muscle-filled beasts, man. I wanted to know if they were good at bodybuilding. Apparently not. But hey, that is it, everybody. Please enjoy the rest of your day. I hopefully will make one more video before this month ends, but if not, I apologize, but I will try to. But that's everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day, and goodbye.